eCapitol News Director Sean Ashley joins us with more on this week's developments at the Capitol. Sean, thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome.
Now, in addition to the income tax overhaul, legislative panels also cleared the way for a vote on the floor on a package of revenue-raising measures. How confident are the legislative leaders about support for that deal?
Well, I'm not sure they're sold on the idea that it's necessarily going to pass. The various lawmakers I've talked to, some have said they most likely see it failing, and others say they do believe it will pass, but barely. This bill is very much like some of the pieces of legislation that were considered back during the special session and really back during the regular session in 2017. A fact that Senate Appropriations Chairman Kim David pointed out when the bills were being heard in her committee. These include an increase in the cigarette tax, an increase in the gross production discount rate, an increase in the motor fuel tax, and a new tax, a new gross production tax on zero-emission wind generation. One lawmaker told me there's something in this bill for everybody to dislike, so we'll have to see when it's put up on the board.
Well, now, there was also some movement on criminal justice reform this week, wasn't there?
Yes, this was one of the major issues Governor Mary Fallin brought forth in her State of the State speech, and we're already beginning to see some of those bills move about. The House passed a bill early in the week and sent it to the Senate, which would reduce some sentences from felonies down to misdemeanors and cut their length. A number of bills were also sent from the Senate to conference committee where final language could be put in them, all 5 of them dealing with criminal justice reform matters.
So 1 week down, and what can we look forward to next week?
Well, I think the big issue will be the vote on the various tax reform proposals that have been put forth as part of a goal of ultimately funding a teacher pay raise and providing additional recurring revenue. There were also some additional bills that passed out of the House Rules Committee that deal with government reform measures, creating an Office of Accountability, for example, and allowing the governor to appoint a number of top agency heads and making those agency governing boards advisory to those directors. Those 2 will likely be on the floor. So it could be a very busy week, particularly for just the second week of session.
All right. Well, eCapitol News Director Sean Ashley, thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome.